I mean, dad had a series of heart attacks. Um, so I remember worrying about him and worrying if, like, I was like, if he doesn't come back, I'm going to be like halfway to becoming an orphan, which, you know, to me, that made sense. Like halfway to being an orphan. I mean, that's how young minds work, right? Um, because then I would only have my mom. And if I lost my mom, then I'd definitely be an orphan. So it was all about feeling abandoned, right? And so, having both parents to me was like, I'm stable, I'm good. And losing one half would be like a travesty. And so that was constant. I remember that constantly being on my mind, constantly being on my mind. Um, that's how, kids think, and that's how I thought about his illness over and over again. And I remember being afraid to ask what happened when they took him away in the ambulance. I remember not talking to anyone at school about him being sick. I remember that I didn't talk about daddy to my cousins or to my friends down the street or to the girls in my ballet class. But mostly I remember that no one asked me how I was doing. Like, seriously, no one asked if I was okay. Now, this is not a blame game, but the young Carol definitely needed someone to ask me if I was okay. And look, this is something that continues to happen today. Many adults believe that they shouldn't really talk to children in that way about, the illnesses or deaths or different things going on in their household because what they do is try to just really distract the child, keep them busy, tell them don't worry, keep them laughing. But you know what? These kids are worrying. They worry just like me. Your child will always remember all the good stuff, but they need help navigating the bad stuff. So, my first tip for you is to talk to your children, right? Some of you are already doing this, right? I'm speaking to those of you who need this tip. Talk to your children, help them express themselves because most children have no idea how to express that worry. So, whether they're 5 or 15, they have worries, right? And so, you're going to use the appropriate language, depending on what their age is. But know that they're really concerned about their mom or about their dad or anyone else that's helped raise them, but they're now very sick. So, how are you going to talk to your child? Well, here I'm going to give you several suggestions. One is give each child a special time and day to talk to them one on one. So maybe it's every Thursday at 8 o'clock in their bedroom. You just have one on one time and you talk to them. Or maybe it's every Saturday morning in your PJs before everyone wakes up. Maybe have them, play some of their favorite. Look, music is my language, so that is true for a lot of kids as well. Maybe you're playing some of their music and they tell you about their music, and then that kind of like opens up the conversation to talk about other things, including what they're worrying about, or maybe their favorite video game. You play with them with their favorite video games, and then that opens up the conversation as well. If you truly are not comfortable with that and you truly do not have the extra time to do that, ask their school therapist or social worker to meet with your child, right? Most schools have a social worker now, and make sure that they are on the schedule to talk to them, once a week or so. And, tell your child this is going to be your session and you talk about whatever you want to. It can be private. You can share it with me if you want to. Just, talk to them. Another way, I would say, just to give you another suggestion, is maybe find a nurturing family member, like a friend or a neighbor, and someone to spend time to talk to your child or your children. And look, we all know who that person is. We all have that person in our family, the one that's very nurturing, that everyone feels comfortable with. Is it an auntie? Is it an older cousin? Is it a close family friend? You know who it is, right? Let them spend some time with them so that they can open up and talk. And finally, have you ever heard of a person or specialist called a child life specialist? Again, that's child life specialist. Most of you probably have never heard. of that type of profession before, but this is someone who has actually been trained to talk to children about illnesses and procedures, right? Most of these people are working with a hospital. Um, and so if you find yourself going back and forth to the hospital with your husband or your wife or your mother or your dad, and your child is being affected by this, right? Your child is very close to the person who's sick now. um, there is a child life specialist who is trained to really break down these different procedures in the language that your child, whether they're 5 or 15, a language that they will understand. So seek out the child life specialist at that hospital and see if you can schedule some time for your child or your children. Okay? I mean, this is very important from a personal standpoint. I know that it's important from a professional studies and reports being done by the National Institution of Health. They tell us all the time that children with a chronically ill parent or someone very close to them are at a higher risk of depression and anxiety and internalizing problems by the time that they're young adults. So you want to go ahead and take care of this. Okay? Which talk methods do you think is best for you?